Hello readers and writers of the internet, welcome back. First thing is first, this is Kevin. We love Kevin, okay? He's gonna be our new mascot. Yeah. And secondly, sorry about my appearance. I finally managed to get like a day off or a lazy day for a few days. So I'm no longer in school right now. That starts in like another week, and I wasn't scheduled for work, so I get this little time off. I'm really enjoying it. But like all those like early mornings have kind of caught up to me because now I'm just like, no, just no. I don't want to do it. So this is the result. I am sorry about that. But yeah, this video I did one a while ago, not too long ago though. I'll link it up there for you guys, but it was rewrite, reread, or burn. So it's basically I choose 3 books and I decide to do one of those 3 actions with them. And last time I did this, I did it with 4 and 5 stars. This time I'm doing it with 1, 2, and 3 stars. So this one's going to be a bit more interesting, a bit more anger-inducing, I guess you could say. And first off, before we get started, I do want to say that if I get mad about a book or I dislike a book, it's not any hate personally towards the author. That book just wasn't for me. So yeah, I'm not attacking the author, I'm simply attacking the book. I just think it wasn't for me. I know people who, love them, and I know books that I love, some people hate. So that's just that out of the way, but let's get started. So first off, we have The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owens. Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. Oh my goodness. And then we have You by Caroline Kepnes. Okay, so these, I think I know what to do with these. I really didn't like Such a Fun Age. I really didn't like it. I did a vlog about it, so I'll link that up there for you guys to go watch. But this one, I just felt like all the characters were stereotypes. They acted like children, which sometimes I'll let go if it's a YA, but this is an adult book. All the characters were adults, and they just acted way too immature and way too rashly for their age. So I was just like, no, this is stupid, So yeah, that's really all I want to say about that one. And then The Merciful Crow. This one, it took me forever to read, and I have stated multiple times that if I was not in like a reading slump at the time of reading that book, I probably would have DNF'd it, but I just thought it was the reading slump. And then I finished it, and I had to download it on Audible because I just couldn't physically read it. But I'm like, no, I've invested so much time and effort into this. I'm going to finish this book one way or another. And that's what I did. And I'm like, if I didn't hit that reading slump, I would have 100% stopped reading the book. I would have DNF'd it. But I did finish it. I gave it 3 stars. I just didn't like it. I just really didn't. And then You by Caroline Kepnes. I actually really like the TV show more than I like the book. The writing I just felt to be kind of like chopped up. I didn't really care for the characters. It was cool to see a book written in second person. For those of you who don't know, that's basically just like you walked in smelling of lavender. You had your hair tied up in a ponytail. It's as if you're talking to the reader themselves. So that was really unique in it. But yeah, I just didn't like it. So I would burn Such a Fun Age. Ooh. Reread You, and then rewrite The Merciful Crow. What I would rewrite in terms of The Merciful Crow, it would be the character arcs mainly. And the plot, it was very repetitive. It was a lot of running. Oh, they found us. Let's run again. Oh, they found us. Let's run some more. Oh, they found us. I was like, okay. Also, a bit more world building. It was kind of hard for me to picture certain things and like the class system and how that kind of worked. But yeah, the characters, especially the prince, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so much promise here. We're going to get something. And then just about every character reached the peak. and then they just stopped. Like, they never went over, they never evolved, they never changed, they never had a realization or anything. They just remained the exact same characters that they were towards the beginning of the book, besides a love interest. You guys know this, that like the main part of a story is to see the characters go through massive change, for them to change, for the reader to change, for the plot to change, for everything to change. That's what the climax is. It's supposed to, especially with YA fantasy, it's supposed to physically and test. I sound crazy saying this. I'm just sorry. This book really just didn't vibe well with me. But it's supposed to test physically and mentally the characters. They're supposed to gain something from it, so therefore the reader gains something of it. And that just didn't happen. No one changed. No one learned anything. Nothing happened. So there we go. But that's what I would rewrite with that one. Then we have Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. I did do a review of that book. I will link it up there for you guys. Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, and then The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This one is tough. I know a lot of people really like The Hobbit, and I didn't hate The Hobbit, it just wasn't my cup of tea. It was more plot-based than character-based, so it was more, let's go to point A, to point B, to point C, to point D, with a little bit of character sprinkled in there. And I know people who really enjoy plot-based books. I'm more of a character-based person. Like, literally, it could just be two people trapped in a room, just sitting and talking about, like, their darkest secrets, and I would be entertained. Like, I don't need point A to B to C to D, whatever. I don't particularly need that. Is it nice? Yes. However, with The Hobbit, the characters kind of suffered. That's my personal opinion, though, so please don't kill me. Then She Was Gone. This one I was really looking forward to. I'd been wanting to read it for so long. The cover was so pretty. And then I was just massively let down. I could see the ending from a mile away. It wasn't as creepy as I was hoping it would be. The mother I really didn't like. Like, one of her children goes missing, and then 10 years later, she's still dealing with that fact. But she has another child, and the issue with this is she tells the child that she still has, I wish you would have been taken and killed, not her. I forget the child's name that was taken and killed. Not her, not the light of my life, not my favorite child. I wish it would have been you. And that is just so terrible, and I get it. Like, it may seem like I'm contradicting myself because I'm like, I love morally great characters, but that just took it way too far. Like, I just can't root for a character when they tell their living child, who's also lost a sibling, who's also gone through the divorce, who now has an overbearing, overprotective mom that shows up to their apartment every day and, like, calls them while they're at work. Now they have to deal with that too, and that's just unfair of you to say that, and I don't believe she ever really takes that back. I don't think she ever takes that back. I think she just, like, I don't think she apologizes, which is, like, really sleazy. But yeah, it didn't focus enough of like the creepy aspect of what I wanted to do, or the kidnapping aspect. It focused more on her and her dating life. I'm just like, this would have been a good subplot, but then it turns into the main plot. And then because it's shoved to the main plot without giving anything away, I'm like, great, now I see everything coming to view because you didn't keep this in the background. You pushed it to the foreground, which makes everything 10 times more obvious. So that just really annoyed me. And then Wicked Saints. This one I just didn't like. It was scattered. I didn't like the characters. I didn't really like the plot. I didn't particularly like the magic system. It just wasn't my favorite. That's really all I can say. If you want further depth into that, again, go watch the review, please. It'll mean a lot to me. I had fun reviewing that one, and you guys seem to have fun watching it. So I would reread Wicked Saints. Rewrite Then She Was Gone, and what I would rewrite of that book was just essentially the mother character, like, completely. I would change around the plot. I would focus more on the actual mystery of the disappearance instead of just like hinting at it. I would focus entirely on that. And then I would burn The Hobbit, which ironically enough, this one out of those three is probably the one that I hate the least, but I just can't see myself rereading it. Well, actually, I can see myself rewriting it, but if I did rewrite it, I would rewrite the entire thing to make it more character-based. So essentially a bit more like the movie, which I actually enjoyed. Okay, I think I want to change my answers then. So I'm gonna rewrite The Hobbit, like what I just said. I'm gonna reread Wicked Saints, and then I'm gonna burn Then She Was Gone, I think? God, that one's hard. I didn't like that one. I don't like that one at all. Lord of the Flies by William Golding. We Hunt the Flames by Hafsa Fazel. And then Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Okay, I haven't talked about Lord of the Flies on this channel, but I absolutely despise this book. I had to read it for summer reading. I thought the premise was really interesting. I loved the beginning of it, but it was the writing that completely took me out of it. I'm not kidding when I say this, and I know this because I counted it because I was so annoyed. This author spends 3 paragraphs describing a pink rock, describing it, the shape, where it sits, how the sun reflects it, what the people think of the rock. I'm like, it's a rock. It's a rock. I don't care. Let's get to the gory, gory, mushy, mushy, killy, killy. Please. Please. And he just would focus on like so many minute details and just focus so much on them that I just got not immersed. I got annoyed. I didn't want to deal with it. So it was just terrible. I ended up just skimming the majority of the book and just like waiting till dialogue scenes or action scenes because I literally didn't miss anything. I literally did not miss anything because I was skipping all descriptiveness. So yeah, that's why I don't like that book. We Hunt the Flame. This one I didn't hate. It just really let me down. I gave it 3 stars. I talked about it in a pretty recent video. I just didn't like the characters, the plot. I'm not going to be reading the sequel, so there's that. And then Sharp Objects. This one really let me down. I think I talked about this in my reading rush last year, so I'll link that video up there for you guys if I can find it. But it made me laugh more than it made me become scared. It essentially focused on, like, you know, small town, big secrets, which usually I don't mind. But this one took it like to the umpteenth degree. And there were just some things that I couldn't find purchase with, if that makes sense. Like, the sister or the journalist is investigating, and she asked these teachers, she's like, so what about this kid? You know, this kid bullied someone, made them hurt themselves, or made them, you know, do something like that. Why isn't no one talking to her or stopping her? And the teacher's like, well, we're all scared of her. I'm like, you're scared of a 12-year-old kid? And it's not like, you know, her parents do hold a position of power in the town, but not even the parents knew about it. So it's not like they were encouraging this kind of behavior. It's like she was doing it by herself, and everyone was like, oh, we're just scared of her. I'm like, but why? Why are you scared of her? Like, yeah, she's nasty. Yeah, she hurts people, but at the same time, you're an adult. Smack the crap out of her. Like, what's the actual deal here? I will say, though, the plot twist I don't think I saw coming, but still, it just let me down. I had really high expectations for the book, and it just didn't deliver. So with that out of the way, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. Reread We Hunt the Flame? I would rewrite Sharp Objects. I would make it a bit more grounded, a bit more gritty realism. Because it was trying to be, at least in my opinion, some people might see it as gritty realism, but in my opinion, it was trying to be gritty realism, but the author took it to such a high degree that it was taken out of realism and just turned into horror. Like, if you guys have seen horror movies, you know, like, almost every character is a stereotype, and they like live up to that stereotype. Like, you have the a-hole jock that's like, oh, you know, And then you have the girl that sleeps around with everyone, and she can't be in a scene without, having her shirt off or something like that. And so, yeah, those stereotypes do exist in real life. That's why there are stereotypes of them. But when you take it that seriously and that far, then it's no longer real. It's like, oh, this is like a caricature of that kind of person, So that's kind of what happened there. I don't know if I described it well for you guys. But yeah, that's what happened there. So it wasn't as gritty as I would have liked it. I would have toned back down the excessiveness of the little town big secrets, because literally everyone had a big secret. I probably would have focused more on just a few people, and then yeah, that's about it. And also I wouldn't have the 12-year-old girl or whatever that I'm talking about that everyone is scared of and doing all these things. I wouldn't really make that public. I would just make that something that the journalist finds out on. I think that would make it a bit more creepy if no one knew about it and she just walks in and she's like, oh my gosh, so that kind of stuff. And then obviously I would burn Lord of the Flies. I know a lot of people really like this book. Stephen King really, really loves this book. I like the ending and I like the end of it. It's just everything in between. It was just dragged out. Things were described that didn't need to be described. I just didn't like it. However, I was a young lad when I read this book. I was in 9th grade, I think. So possibly, maybe, I'm not going to. But if I do end up rereading it, I might like it just a bit more. But at the same time in my life, at that point in my life, I was reading Shakespeare and all this other stuff, and I thoroughly enjoyed Hamlet and Macbeth. So yeah. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. And then In the Dark by Lorith Ann White. Ooh, okay. So Darker Shade of Magic I didn't hate. I gave it 3 stars. It just didn't live up to the hype that everyone portrayed it out to be. However, Jesse the reader did say that he didn't like it as first, and then he reread it and he absolutely loved the series, so I might do that in the future. But right now, I really don't have an interest to reread that book or continue on with the series. However, I have found that I do like V.E. Schwab's writing. Vicious, I absolutely love. Vengeful, I like. And then This Savage Song, I absolutely love by her, and I'm trying to get my hands on This Dark Duet. So there's that. The Handmaid's Tale, I actually did do a review of that. I'll link that up there for you guys. Yeah, I just didn't like it. It didn't really live up to what I wanted to. I listened to it on Audible. It was just a bunch of things that didn't really make any sense. They didn't flow well together. I was kind of confused about a lot of it. Some of the messages that were displayed, I was like, well, no. Just no. And I wished it would have focused a bit more on this dystopian type-esque world in which women are meant to be completely submissive and controlled and all that. But instead we don't really get a lot of that. We get a few things here and there, but it's mainly her just thinking about the past or about something in great detail, or we marched to the gym, which we now used for sanctuary. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then, in the next paragraph, it's we walked away after the hanging. I'm like, you didn't write about the hanging? You didn't write about the hanging. That's just the kind of stuff that I just want in, these grittier dystopian things. I'm like, dang it, come on! So there's that one. And then In the Dark, this one I listened to on Audible. I could see this ending coming from a mile away. It really didn't surprise me. After I kind of figured out, which was about midway, the book kind of dragged. I was like, I know who did it, and I was promised a book in which I think it's 6 strangers are completely alone in the woods, and we don't get that. We get a present past type of storytelling, which could work really well. However, there is one big problem with that. In the present, the only survivor is talking to the police, so we know what has happened. And then she's just retelling it. I'm like, well, there's no point. It's obviously that person. And I don't even care really that that's a spoiler, because it's in the beginning of the book. Like, it's obviously her, and now the mystery is what happened to her to make her want to do this, which, like, was kind of confusing because there was so many different people's, like, perspectives and all that, and I didn't get enough chapters of them being alone. Like, it started out really good. I'm like, okay, yes, and then it skipped. It's like 3 of them have died. I'm like, how? And it's like one of them was poisoned. I'm like, you didn't show that? You didn't show how one of them was poisoned? Come on! You know, so it just skipped over a lot of things. But yeah, there's my little rant over and done with. Sorry. So I would reread A Darker Shade of Magic, rewrite In the Dark, and I would change around just the plot or the pacing, I guess, and how it's told, and then burn The Handmaid's Tale because I really didn't like the book. Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Oh my gosh! The epitome of my existence. I've done a review of that one up there. But if I get started on that one now, this video's never gonna end. It's just so much rage. The Vanishing Deep by Astrid Solch. I do need to do a review of that one. It is coming up relatively soon, I believe. That one just really let me down. And Romeo and Juliet. This one, it's okay. I can see why people like it, but it's also one of Shakespeare's first tragedies, and you can really see that. It was pretty poorly written. The plot was pretty poor, and the characters were pretty poor. Definitely no Hamlet or Julius Caesar or Othello or Macbeth. None of those. Like it's not even close to being as good as any of those. And I don't even really like Othello. But yes. This is hard. Okay. Reread Romeo and Juliet. Rewrite The Vanishing Deep. I would take out the annoying traits of the main character and her sister and the love interest. And I would take out a bunch of the subplots, and I would change around the world just a bit because some things really didn't make sense. And then I would burn Mockingjay because Mockingjay I hate with a burning passion of my entire body and soul. And, well, like I said, I'm not going to get into it because... well, I'm just not going to get into it. I just hate the book. I hate both movies. I hate it. There's no reason for that one to exist. No, I'm not interested in reading the sequel or the prequel. I forget what it's called. It's Songbirds, Snakes, whatever. No, I don't want to read that one. Please. No, because I've heard bad things about that one. I don't need an explanation about why President Snow is the way he is. I would have rather gotten one about Finnick, or, I just blanked on his name, but Katniss's tutor. I would have gotten one about any of them, not Snow. I don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. It was all downhill after Hunger Games. That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna stop now, okay? Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay. The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Oh my goodness. Nod by Adrian Barnes, and then We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. So these I really haven't talked about on my channel except for Nod, which I do need to do a review. I'm going to do that one after I do The Vanishing Deep, so get ready for that one. But The Girl on the Train I really didn't like. It centers around essentially this girl who thinks that she witnesses a murder, but she was blackout drunk that night, so the pieces have to like slowly come back, and she's like, I don't know what happened, I was, drunk. It was really annoying, if I'm being honest. The main character was really annoying. Like, instead of, I don't know, keeping all the puzzle pieces for herself and making sure that they all lined up and stuck together, she would just tell anyone like what she found out, which turned out to be wrong. So then it's like the girl who cried wolf. And after so many times, like, people are like, okay, you're crazy. And she's like, no. And then, again, I also solved this mystery midway through the book. It was one of those, he did it. No, she, he, him, her, they, whatever. It tried to go back and forth to trick you. And I'm like, no, I know it's him. I know it's the person that you said in the beginning. I know it's them. And then, like, it was this big shock when it was them. It's like, oh, it's him? I'm like, yeah. The one that had, and of course this is like not exaggeration, but it was so obvious that it might as well be just, yeah, the one who had, blood on his hands that night and was saying with a gun, the same gun that killed the woman, you know. So it was just like stupid stuff like that. And also just like the premise for this, like the main character, her life is so depressing that she lives vicariously through these two people that she watches every day, like on her way to work or whatever, like on the train. She just like sees their house and she watches them through the windows. I'm like, kind of creepy, but okay, go for it, you know. And then she like makes herself get involved with their lives, which she turns out to be kind of connected because she was drunk, and I think she did end up going to the house or something like that. But I'm just like, sweetie, like, even if you suspect that someone did something to someone else, you don't know these people. You don't know if they got a divorce. Don't go snooping around their house, you know? Like, it was just stuff like that. I'm like, you actually have no right to be here. And usually I'm like, yes, a little mystery. But I'm like, no, you have no right to be doing this. You don't know these people. You're doing this on a hunch, and you're just like invading everyone's personal lives. And they're like, who are you? And you're just like, I've known you for years. I'm like, what does that mean? So yeah, there's that one. Nod, this one really let me down. The premise was really interesting, really unique, and it just was poorly executed. Again, I'm gonna be doing a review about that, so I'm not gonna go too in depth. And then We're Okay by Nina LaCour. This cover is actually really, really, really pretty. I love this cover, and I low-key want to read, I think it's like Hold On, also by her. But yeah, this one is about, it's a mystery, but it's not. It's like a how did I end up here kind of mystery, not like a murder mystery. But this girl, she moves, and then she has to reflect and be like, how did my life get to this point? And then everything like comes up. So I thought that part of it was actually pretty well done, except for the major twist. I'm like, that's actually not that big of a deal. And I could just be remembering it wrong, so if I am, I do apologize. That's not that big of a deal, to be honest. You know, like it's a big deal to the character, but I'm just like, I don't know if it's a big of a deal to ignore that person, block him, move out of states just to avoid eye contact. I don't know if it's that type of big deal. And then if I remember correctly, everything gets resolved in a nice, tidy little bow, which I'm like, okay, fair enough, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, why? I would probably reread We Are Okay, rewrite Nod. I would essentially change the majority of the book. A lot of the philosophical stuff I would take out. It wasn't needed. If I did put in more philosophical stuff, it would relate to what is happening to the characters and what is being read about. Not just randomness that's like, this reminds me of a time when, you know, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? It doesn't relate. It doesn't relate! So there's that one. And then I would burn The Girl on the Train because I absolutely hated that book. My sister actually really enjoyed the movie, and I think she liked the book, and that's something I will never forgive her for. So there's that. So yeah, and that's everything right there. I'm sorry this video went a little bit longer than the last one, but again, this one are lower rated stars, so I do have a bit more to say about them other than good plot, good characters. I'm like, well, no, this is the problem with them. This is what happened. This is why my life is terrible. You know, again, I'm not trying to attack the authors. I'm just personally don't like their books. I get how hard it is to publish a book, and I get how hard it is for people to read that book. So I am definitely, you know, proud is not the word. Respectful of what they've managed to accomplish, and I wish nothing but the best for them. It's just personally I didn't like those books. So yeah, there's my personal opinion on that for ya. But yeah, that was it. I did have fun with this one. I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Thank you as always for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. And it means the world to me if you follow me on all my other social media, such as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Those will be listed down in the description below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!